Hey everybody, Karaoke here. I've mostly decided to stop making videos, but some of the craziness that's been going on Reddit has brought me out of quote-unquote retirement, and I've decided to make another Guild Wars 2 video to talk a little bit about the shitstorm over canceling legendary weapons. Now, one of the reasons that I've wanted to make this video is not because I have a strong opinion about it. If I were to give my opinion, I'd say it lies somewhere in the range of, this is kind of a bad idea, but I understand why they're doing it, and as long as they use these resources in the right way, the game can come out better in the long term over it. But really what I want to talk about more is people's misunderstanding of some of the things that Mike O'Brien has said, and using some of my experience to help guide people toward understanding what he really means when he says the things that he says. And part of this is inspired by some of the different posts I've seen. So here's the sub right now, and you can see it's just a shit show of people being angry. That's fine. Be angry if you want to be angry. You're totally welcome to strongly express your opinion. I don't really care if people are angry as long as they're not like threatening people. So go ahead and be angry. But what I've noticed is posts a little bit like this, and I'm picking on somebody a little bit here. I actually like this post. I think it's well written and has some good ideas. It's not just complete nonsense, but one of the things that I keep seeing is, well, look, they're moving the team to Living Story 3. That means it's going to be better or sooner or something along those lines. And sadly, that's not always how development works. The other one that I've seen a lot of is, oh, well, they aren't canceling the legendaries. They're just suspending them indefinitely. That means they'll be back in the future. And it's really those two things that made me think, we need a video here to talk a little bit about how development works and how talking to customers works, because I get the feeling that a lot of you guys, you know, you're not in the real world, right? You're in college or university or you're learning stuff, but you're not actually out there doing this. Now, I have a bit of experience in this. I went to school for computer engineering, so I have a computer engineering degree. I can write code. And I've worked in the software industry for almost a decade. Now, I work in the software industry, but I do not work in games. So it is possible that my little corner of the software world is completely different from everywhere else. I know gaming is kind of a different animal. But that said, I think I have some information here that I can help you guys with. So what I want to do is take a look at Mike's post here and point out where he basically gave us the messaging about those different things. So the first thing here is... So after shipping this bow, I've asked that we indefinitely suspend work on new legendary weapons. Now, the best thing I can do here to describe this is that this is like a form of edging. If you guys don't know what that is, feel free to go Google it, but, you know, make sure that you're not at work or your parents aren't standing behind you or something. But this is the closest you can possibly get to canceling something without actually canceling it. When somebody says they indefinitely suspend it, that means not only we're not working on it, but we currently have no plans to start working on it again in the future. I know a lot of times in my work, there's things that we're working on and we say, well, look, we have to go do something else now that's more important, but we're going to come back to this. So you would say that as, we're suspending this until we complete X, right? That's how you would deliver that message. When you say that you've indefinitely suspended something, that just means, look, we're taking this off the table, so to speak. And we're not saying we will never do this again, right? When you cancel something, what you're saying is we're not working on this and we will not ever complete this. They're opening the door to maybe someday in the future having additional legendaries, and it would be stupid for them not to, right? You can't imagine that if this game lasts another 10 years, they'll never make another legendary weapon. But what they're saying is we currently have zero plans to ever come back to this, and at some point in the future we might. It's just not something we're considering right now. That, for all intents and purposes for us guys, that means that this program has been canceled, and we'll get some announcement in the future if they decide to start making these again, which I think they will, but it could be years. All right, so that's the first part. When they say indefinitely suspend, it really kind of does mean cancel. The second thing is kind of what this person was saying here. These guys, they're going to be on Living Story 3, so hey, that means we're going to get that sooner. And while that sometimes can be true, a lot of times putting resources onto an existing project doesn't really make it go any faster. Now, Mike let us know this a little bit later in the post. So he said, full story episodes have a long lead time, but I don't think living world content has to be all about the episodes. So maybe, right? So you asked if this means living world can come sooner than July. Okay, this is a very good hint as to what they're doing. these 6 people who were building legendaries, they are going to go work on living world content. But what he's saying here is they're going to be building living world content that potentially could come out before July, but they're not full story episodes. So what that means is they're probably going to pull these people off to make new dynamic events, or make a small little story within a zone. It's going to be things that aren't the full voiced story episodes. And the reason for that, which he gives right here, is the long lead time. So this is getting into a little bit of like project management, and I'm going to give kind of the easy overview here. So for my project management experts over there, if you feel like correcting me down in the comments, go right ahead. It's not going to bother me. Feel free to check out the comments, and people will probably give more information about this. But lead time is a really important term here. Lead time basically means, hey, if I want this thing, the lead time is the amount of time, the minimum amount of time it'll take for me to get it. In project management, that's often time related to a thing called critical path. So think about it this way. If I'm building a computer, right, I have to get all the parts, and then I have to start putting them together. And there's things that I can do kind of at the same time. Like I can start designing my components, and I can order parts from different places, and they all come at the same time. I don't have to order them one part at a time. But when I put it together, there is kind of a certain order of things, right? I have to have my case, and I have to, install the motherboard and install the CPU and then install all the other things, and they go in a sequence. Now, if I were trying to build that computer faster, I might be able to bring an extra person on to help me build it. And maybe, with having 2 people, we can build a little faster. But in the end, sometimes you can only work on one thing at a time, and only having extra people doesn't mean you can build it any faster. And that kind of gets into the idea of critical path, which is things sometimes have to happen in an order. And if you look at that order and kind of put it all together, the critical path is it's the shortest amount of time you can complete it because of things that need to be completed in sequence. That's really kind of a simplification of it, but it's tied into this idea of lead time. What that means is right now, they're building living story content. What they're doing is and you can see this on Twitter, they're getting voiceover from people. So they're out in the studios, they're having people do voiceover. Well, these 6 new people, they're not going to help those voiceover actors complete their work any faster, right? The voiceover people, they have a particular schedule, and having 6 extra people isn't going to help. Well, once those voice actors finish, they have to hook up the lines to the characters, they have all this other stuff, they have testing to do. They may not be able to help with any of that either, because there's already teams that do it. They're not having to build content, it's more like testing of it. So bringing additional people on doesn't necessarily mean they can go any faster, because the problem isn't that they don't have enough people to do it. It's just that there's a schedule that they have to follow, and things have to happen in a certain order. What I think this means, and he didn't say it, and I sort of wish he did, was just they're not going to be helping out with the living story episodes. They're going to be helping out with other living world content so that you have something before July, but it's not going to be like a story journal chapter, because we can't speed that up any based on where we are in the process of building it. So when people go and say, well, look, we're going to get a better or sooner Living Story 3, no, we're not. What we're going to get is we're going to get something else. And when he says, I'm not here to make predictions or promises, I'd rather we start by shipping than talk about what we shipped, there's some irony here, because they haven't been shipping much. So this kind of, to me, just feels like, well, we're not going to talk about anything. We'll talk about what we shipped, which is raids, just raids, nothing else. But what he really means is we're going to try and get these 6 people to build something else. We're going to try and push it out soon. And then once we do, we want you to see it and let us know how you feel about it. So my best prediction that I can make is sometime in the next few months, you're going to see some changes to the world. It could be new dynamic events. It could be something a little bit more quest-like. It could be more collections. God, I hope it's not more collections, but it could be. But they're going to put that out and then say, hey, this is what we have people building. We want to get feedback on this and maybe do better. I've been a longtime proponent of them actually doing more in the open world to make it feel fresh. I don't do much open world content, but for people who do, it is kind of the same stuff over and over. So if they have people out there trying to expand on the stories in the world, I can see this being a good thing. It is disappointing that we don't have the legendaries, but I just want to make sure people have a better understanding of kind of how this process of project management works and what all these phrases mean. So the TLDR, no, we're not going to get story journal episodes sooner because of this. No, there probably aren't going to be any legendary weapons, let's say at least in the next year, maybe longer. I would think maybe with the next expansion they might start shipping them again, but who knows. And it's all right here in the things that he says. So hopefully that helps you guys parse Mike's messages a little bit better so we can have a slightly more accurate conversation of this. Again, if you think I've said anything wrong or misleading here, please go ahead and say so in the comments. I'd be curious to know what everybody thinks. And like always, I'll be chatting with you guys down there. It's been kind of a crazy time for Guild Wars, so I'm just curious how everybody feels about the game and these decisions, and whether, and this is something that I've been worried about for a while, and it's one of the reasons that I've not really been making videos. I'm not sure that Guild Wars is an everyday game for me anymore. Now, I'm a mono gamer, so I'm not really picking up other games. I'm just doing other things with my time. But this game is not really holding me for the amount of time and effort that I'd like to put into it. So I've been doing other things. My question for you guys is, is that the same thing for you? Are you guys finding that you have to spend a lot of time doing other things lately? So let me know in the comments, and I'll talk to you guys there. Bye.